Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengal fan on all the major platforms. And I'm joined as always with Sam Snyder from Primetime Sports Talk. And we are going to do our week 6 preview for the Bengals who are facing the Indianapolis Colts. And as usual, we are going to do our what are you feeling good about? What are you not feeling good about? And we start with the bad. So what are you not feeling good about? Well, I'm not feeling good about our O-line stopping Justin Houston and the Indy D. I think that's all the talk has been Turner and the O line, and I can't feel good about what we just saw leaving Baltimore, heading into play Indy, and feel good about this offensive line. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And you also got DeForest Buckner in the middle. Trey Hopkins has played pretty well this year. He's going to get a real test this week. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm concerned about Justin Houston a lot. This was one of those situations where when they got him, everybody kind of wondered if he was still the same dude. And he has proved that he is the same dude. And I think if they're smart, they'll do what was done a couple weeks ago and, move him around. Because either way, I think he can beat Jonah. He can beat Bobby. So I think they're just going to keep it interesting and move him from one side to another.
Yeah. Or have him come in and somebody else is going to be coming around the other side once two of our linemen go engaged. If you follow me on Twitter, and you absolutely should follow me on Twitter, you can go back earlier this week. I tweeted a photo of two offensive linemen just standing there waiting for somebody to block, and Joe Burrow's behind them being sacked. They have no idea that the guys have already passed them and are sacking Joe Burrow. And that kind of field awareness concerns me. And I got into a Twitter conversation with somebody about that. And they were saying, oh, well, so you have to blame the player for their lack of skill. And I was like, no, this is coaching. I mean, this is clearly coaching when you have two offensive linemen standing there unaware that their quarterback is being tossed to the ground.
Right. And it's going to be a question this week, I guess, to see how the right guard experiment continues.
Right.
Are they going to run your boy out there again? Or are they going to try Price or Fred again?
Which Redmond do we get? That's the thing. Do we get the human penalty flag, or do we get the one that we know has some ball skills, but
yeah, he does. He's a talented guy, but and maybe it was just that he was rusty. He's only been on the practice squad. Last week was his first game in a while. I'm not excusing him.
No, but this is a guy who's been with the team.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of meeting, I think, his aunt and uncle. We did the tailgate outside the stadium in Carson, and this couple came over because there was like 30 or 40 of us, and this couple came over and they introduced themselves, and they were his aunt and uncle. They said, yeah, our nephew is playing. He's a Bengal lineman. Now, who is he? He's Alex Redmond. And I remember the people we were playing with when Redmond made the penalty that negated the Driscoll touchdown. We were sitting in Carson. He said, this is their kid, that nephew. There was all that rumbling. So, but he's been with us. The point being is he's been with us for a while. He's not new to the Bengal organization or the team. And
I guess he's reasonably new to the scheme. Maybe this year, I don't know if they've changed anything. But again, I want to make it clear, I'm not excusing him. Because the problems that he's having are discipline problems. They're false starts, they're holds, they're negating big plays. We know he's talented, but can you count on him? I don't know.
And they're holds when he didn't need to hold in that play. It's usually the other side of the field, and you go, really? When he's not holding is when our guy gets sick. Okay, my next thing is our run defense. No Reader, no Daniels. Hubbard went on IR today. I'm assuming that's short term. I didn't hear a season being over. Now with the flexibility on IR, they just put you on IR. They don't say anything. But I'm always, we're looking. Our bye is coming up in a few weeks, and we're looking. I always figure, we're going to get Daniels back after the bye. I got to figure maybe Hubbard is one of those because you're putting him on for 3, where they figure, okay, they get 4 weeks of rest. But that concerns me. I mean, Now Dunlap doesn't have anything to cry about. He's going to be one starting guy. Lawson's going to be the other. And then we don't have the depth behind him anymore. And we've lost everybody big in the middle. And we don't know what Geno contribution is going to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a question for, or rather not a question, but I think it's going to be interesting for Bengals fans this weekend because I think they're going to hear some names they've never heard before.
Yeah.
I think at defensive tackle, next to Geno, obviously we'll see Christian Covington again. In fact, he might play the most snaps. I didn't realize this until today. Geno only played 19 snaps last week.
Okay.
So hopefully with another week of practice under his belt, he's at least up to maybe 50% of our snaps. So I assume Covington will get the most. Andrew Brown, who is a really, really talented defensive tackle, I assume will be in the rotation with Geno and Christian. And then here's a new one for Bengals fans, Amani Bledsoe.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, okay.
He's a good defensive end. These guys are both of these guys are pretty young. They've been around the block a couple times. I can't remember which. Bledsoe, I want to say, was drafted by the Titans. And then eventually we signed him off their practice squad. Andrew Brown, I think this is his second year in the league. Talented guy, but we picked him up when somebody made a move last year, and I apologize that I don't know who it was. But I do know this. I know that Andrew Brown is a talented guy. I've heard his name a million times before. I believe he played at Oklahoma. Amani Bledsoe, I don't know much about. I'll have to look him up a little more. But by all accounts, he's worthy of being in, a defensive end rotation. So now we wonder, are you going to start Lawson and Dunlap on either side? Because lately it's been Lawson coming in and Dunlap playing behind him. But with Dunlap being upset about not getting a shot, we've seen Lawson play on the right because he used to rotate with Hubbard. So, I'd say give it a shot.
Maybe we work one of them in on the line and we just have one tackle. I don't know. Oh, by the way, Andre Brown was Virginia. Played his college ball Virginia. So
no, Andrew Brown. Andrew Brown.
Andrew Brown, yeah, played his college ball at Virginia. So,
okay. Then that means Bledsoe, I think, was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing that concerns me about throwing a couple of them in a defensive tackle is if I'm not mistaken, that's how Sam Hubbard busted his elbow.
No, exactly. And the other thing is you're looking at. I mean, it concerns me because there's concerns about Phillip Rivers if you're Indianapolis, and that was one of my good things, and we'll get to that. But the bottom line is Indianapolis can take it easy. If I was Frank Reich, I'd run again. I'd just keep banging that drum all day. And I don't know that we're going to be able to stop them because we're going to have to show that we can stop them. And that's going to require linebacker Sean Williams-Sonny to come up and really just have an amazing game for us. So it's a huge concern.
If you don't mind, Mark, I'll stick on this point because your point was that you were concerned about the run game. Jonathan Taylor, he's only had one game over 100 yards, and he got over 20 carries. Since then, he's been very efficient, but they're not giving him the ball as much as I, would have expected them to, as much as a bunch of fantasy players would have expected him to.
Right.
But he's been very efficient. His yards per carry are not bad. He scored, 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. And this is just, we hate to say it, but this is just the exact kind of game with the injuries in the middle to get him on track. And I'm also not thrilled. And I'm also not thrilled about Nyheim Hines.
Well, I was going to say Hines because we have problems with those quick Austin Eckler type backs. I mean, those are the ones that give us problems.
And Hines won't get many carries, but he'll be heavily involved in the passing game. But he's already got 22 catches this season. That's more than a lot of teams' wide receivers.
Right.
So we really got to watch them and hope that our linebackers continue to cover the pass well. But especially this Sunday, the linebackers need to step up into the hole. Stop the run.
Agreed. And then the other thing I had was that you were talking about getting back on track. Indy lost last week. It always feels like we're the bounce back team. Hey, okay, let's get healthy. Next week against the Bengals. We were able to scrape out the tie in Philly and beat Jacksonville, but it just seems like we catch teams. I really want them to win last week, not just to beat Cleveland, but I always prefer catching teams off a loss. They have their bye coming up
off a win.
Capping them off a win because they're just off a loss. They're angry. They
right.
come in chippy and they want to right the ship, and they've had to watch all the tape just like we have for the last week. So
and not to mention that the Colts are. I mean, this game is in Indianapolis. The Colts are 2-0 and have looked really dynamic at home. They're 1-2 on the road. The 2 losses were ugly, but
yes.
But it's not baloney to talk about the home and road records. You've got teams that just don't. Look at the Patriots. Even when the Patriots were really good, the only time they ever lost was on the road. They were unbeatable in New England.
No, so they were a lock after a loss. I mean, forget the honest Cincinnati when we were watching that game at the bar. I always bet New England off a loss because I go, Belichick rarely loses 2 games in a row. So you just always moneyed up.
So playing in Indianapolis concerns me a little bit.
I can see that. And then our coaches, I'm losing faith quickly in our coaching staff. I mean, I'm just concerned.
You've been losing faith in our coaches for the last 3 weeks.
I know, but we went up against Harbaugh and got completely embarrassed. Okay. And Harbaugh embarrassed our coaches. Okay. And we have another guy this week. Frank Reich's a great coach.
I agree.
So I'm very concerned. It's like, we just have a whole line. And then coming up after that, we have Vrabel down the list. I mean, we've got some really difficult opposing coaches, and it concerns me that the Frank Reich, all that, it concerns me a lot. So
my one, you covered, most of what I was going to talk about, and they're coming off that 32-23 loss to Cleveland. But the biggest thing I wrote down is they just gave up 32 points to Cleveland. They are still the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. Right. Let me just tell you.
They gave up 30 points to Jacksonville. So when they lose, they've given up 30. But when they're on like those 2-0 home games, look at their numbers.
I mean, losing 2 games and giving up 30 points, and you're still number 1 in the NFL. I understand scoring is up. It goes up every year. But I'll have to look at the paper for this. But let me just tell you this. Indianapolis defense, they are first in pass yards against. They're allowing under 265 per game. They are first against rush touchdowns. They are first against touchdowns overall. They are first in interceptions with 9. They have 11 sacks. They are second in total yards allowed. They are third in red zone TDs allowed. They're ranked technically 20th on a conglomerate, but it's only because they're not trailing, or because they haven't had as many sacks as other teams, and they've only got 1 forced fumble. But as far as like across the board, all the categories they're involved in, they're still the best defense in the NFL. I think it's important for Bengals fans to know that, because there's a lot of Bengal fans that will look at the fact that they gave up 32 points to Cleveland last week and assume that Indianapolis doesn't have a great defense. They do. They really, really do.
Yeah, I was trying to find on my Twitter feed the Bengals. I can't remember who it is that tweeted it out, but tweeted out all the rankings for offensive and defense. We were in the low to mid 20s on every category. There was like 2 categories. I think pass defense, we were in the mid teens. I want to say, don't hold me to this. You guys in the comment column, you can correct me. But I remember I thought it was 12th or maybe 14th. But everything else, I mean, all of them were 20s. And you're sitting there talking about top 5 in all these categories. So that definitely concerns me. And what else can you say? And the other thing, this one's going to segue us into the good, because it's on both lists. I said they're going into their bye after us. Now, the reason that's a bad thing is every team wants a coach. You want to carry positive momentum into your bye. So they're going to come out, guns a blazing. That's what they're going to try to do. win at home, go into their bye, and get ready for the second half of the season. The reason why it's on the feeling good about is Darius Leonard has not practiced all week. And he's the big question mark. And we could really use him not playing. That would help us. And because they're in their bye, they might just hold him out, because you hold him out this game and he basically gets 3 weeks of rest. So
right.
That's why it's on both lists. And now we're in the good. So good feelings. Darius Leonard might not play, but the bye thing works both ways.
Yeah, and not just Darius Leonard. And I went on a couple Colts sites to see kind of what they were saying about him, and it was divided. A couple sites said Darius Leonard looks like he'll suit up, and then more than that said, nah, they're not going to play him. There's no way. Right. So I really gleaned nothing from that. And then you've got
a groin injury, so you might, like I said, the chance of aggravating it. If you aggravate a groin, you're looking at 3 or 4 weeks, where if they gave him this, they probably could come out of the bye with a pretty healthy Darius Leonard. So that's the reason why I think that the bye may help us in this case.
Right.
Not with the overall attitude of the team, but with Darius Leonard.
And overall, on their injury report, it's not bad. I do like the fact that the left tackle Costanzo is banged up a little bit.
Yeah, but he's full practice, and he was limited in full, and I think he's back this week.
No, I'm not saying I think he'll be out, but even if he's just slowed a little bit, right, and we do end up doing what I said earlier, where Dunlap stays at left and we move Carlos over to Hubbard's spot, right, on the right, then maybe Costanzo just doesn't quite have the quickness. I mean, he's an unbelievable tackle. So even down 20%, he's still going to be fine.
Right.
If he's lost a step, then and Lawson's played just phenomenally this year. So I like just whatever that added little bit is.
Well, last year we moved Lawson around a lot, so he's going to be used to coming in from any side. He was kind of more of a linebacker position, a blitzing linebacker, so he came in from all kinds of angles last year. So it'll be interesting to see if.
And even when he and Hubbard got here, we left Dunlap in his original position, right, and made Lawson and Hubbard rotate. Right. So Lawson's played both sides plenty.
Yeah. So and the other stuff, I'm reaching for stuff here, on the good side. We talked about how easy it was to find stuff we were worried about, and what do we feel good about it? And not a lot coming into this game. Burrow has a chance to respond after his worst outing, and we know the type of person that he is. And the other one I was reaching for was Phillip Rivers. I mean, obviously he's a stationary quarterback. He's not very mobile. We finally get away from, the quarterbacks we've had to chase around, Baker Mayfield. Wentz, although he's large, he still tends to move around and he's tough to bring down. But Phillip Rivers we played Rivers many times. I've been down at Qualcomm. We've been down at Qualcomm. Right. Everybody knows what Rivers is about. And then the only stat I'm throwing out, T.Y. Hilton, his last 100-yard game was in 2018. It's been a long time since T.Y. Hilton. I'd hate to be the game he finally breaks out in, but Rivers has had his issues passing. Hilton's not the Hilton that we've come to know in previous years. So those are a couple things I feel good about. And like I said, Burrow's chip on his shoulder from wanting to, do a better job this week.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on all three of those real quick if I could.
Go.
The Burrow thing, I think we need to concentrate on what Hugh and Jay Gruden both did with Andy Dalton and say, get the ball out quick. Let's stick with short passes, because Indianapolis has a great secondary, a really, really good secondary. So let's keep chipping away the way we did last week. I don't know if Auden Tate is going to play. I don't feel good about that. And if he doesn't, it probably means John Ross will play, and that does absolutely nothing for us because Indianapolis has a great secondary. The only problem with the dink and dunk is you've got Kenny Moore II in the nickel corner position He'll be covering Tyler Boyd, and he's arguably the best slot corner in this entire league. He is outstanding. So we're going to need Higgins to step up, and maybe we need Burrow to find some chemistry with Green. On the next thing you mentioned, I agree on Rivers. Rivers is getting a lot of slack for not playing well overall. I'll say he still has a 70% completion rate. He's still over 1,200 yards at this point. The only difference is, and this is the good part, is that he's got 5 picks to 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So you're looking for Jesse Bates, maybe WJ3 to step up and do something like that. Speaking of interceptions, I'll mention Kenny Morgan. I'm calling one for him. He has a knack for knowing when to and when not to try to jump the route. Right. I'm not trying to say something bad in the good section.
Right.
I'm just saying that. And then what was the third thing you mentioned? It was Rivers.
T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton. I like our secondary in this game.
Yeah, that was the only stat I remember that was not in the 20s was our pass defense.
Yeah, I like our secondary a lot in this game. T.Y. Hilton's a talented guy, and like you said, he could certainly go off. But the rest of the stuff is, you got Zach Pascal, who's nothing special.
Right.
You've got a trio of tight ends, and they'll probably all have a catch. You got Jack Doyle, Mo Alley-Cox, and Trey Burton.
Yeah, but Trey Burton's been coming along. He's been showing Rivers seems like he likes Burton the most when he feels the most comfortable. So I'm concerned about Burton. I've been watching Burton because I need tight end help on my fantasy team. So I've been tracking Burton but he's failed me so many times. I drafted him early when he was on the Bears. He couldn't stay healthy. So, that's why he's still out there. But,
and Mo Alley-Cox was the hot ad, and he was banged up last week. So he didn't get, I think he played, but he either left early or he didn't get much attention.
Yeah. I've been reading that he's not healthy. So we'll see. Yeah. Did not practice both days.
Yeah. So. But Burton, for once I'm going to jinx it, Mark. I'm going to jinx it right now. Buckle up, everybody. I'm going to jinx it. We've done really well against the tight end this year. Not necessarily really well, but for Bengals standards, we have.
Yeah, well, our linebackers have played well, our safeties have played well, and it's helped us.
They really have, even without Mackenzie Alexander on the slot. But so I guess long story longer. T.Y. Hilton, we got to make sure that he's covered so he doesn't have that breakout game you're talking about.
Right.
And we got to watch those tight ends underneath. We got to watch them. But I think Nyheim Hines might be the number one receiver in this game.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's, like I said, that's all I had. I really stretched to feel good about, there just wasn't. It's hard coming off a loss like we had where our coaches were so embarrassed that, and it's just hard to be excited, but that's what I had for the good. I want to caution everybody. Our schedule is brutal for the next 4 games. We could lose the next 4 games. I mean, we're playing, Indy, Cleveland, Tennessee. We have our bye, and then we come back to Pittsburgh. I mean, we could lose all those games if we can't get people back. If Geno doesn't become Geno, Pittsburgh, we could be, I'm not writing that off. We get Daniels back and we get Hubbard back. I mean, and then Geno is, we just don't know what we're going to have. But losing Reeder changed a lot. It really did.
Right. But like you and I were talking about before this, we've got 4 really, really, really winnable games right after that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's Washington, the Giants, Miami, and Dallas. The Dallas one becomes super interesting because now it's Andy Dalton's return to Cincinnati. I don't know how many fans are going to be in the stands, but he's got the keys to the ship now. Jerry Jones, kudos to Gary. I was happy when Andy Dalton got signed. Kudos to Jerry Jones for spending some money on his backup because it's paying huge dividends. Andy Dalton's more than capable of feeding Lamb and Cooper and all those guys. So,
well,
interesting game coming. That'll be an interesting game after the bye week, later in the season.
As you know, I always loved Andy Dalton, and obviously I don't want him to beat us, but I don't know. I think it'd be really fun to see.
Well, it's so many games down the road. I mean, that's the last game of the 8 we just mentioned. So,
right.
I mean, we're talking, after that.
I really look forward to it. Except I was a little perturbed when I saw the highlights the other day, and I saw him hit Gallup for a really long pass down the sideline that didn't go out of bounds.
Right. Well, and the thing also was is that he actually chucked it down there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like how many times you wanted him to, but hey,
I love Andy. I look forward to him coming back here. I hope we beat him, but I think it's really great. I think it's awesome.
But I want Bengal fans to realize that the next few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, can be brutal, and then it gets better after that. Like you pointed out, thank you for bringing in the next 4 games of the schedule. So let's get to predictions here. I don't have us winning this game. I got us down for 27-13. I don't even know that we covered the tees. I was very disappointed them not covering the tees last week.
I know you were.
I got 20 points. You should not lose that game. And all you guys need to do is put one score on the board and not give up the fumble to Queen. But I wouldn't even tease them. I think we drop down to 4-2 against the spread after this.
Yeah, that was a big fat poodle tooter right there. But
that's what I got. 2017 Indy, and
yeah. But you said 2013, right?
Or 27-13.
27-13. Mm-hmm. I'm really close. Again, we seem to be pretty close.
And we don't compare. Sam and I do not compare notes. We do not talk about these anything. We want it to be a surprise. We want there to be spontaneity and not seem like we scripted this. So we don't talk about what we have on our list or anything. So
if we start, for anybody watching, if we start talking about it off camera, we say, let's stop talking about it.
Let's just start recording.
Let's do it live.
So, all right. So what do you got?
I've got, I don't see us winning this either. The Colts defense is better than Baltimore's defense, which is crazy to say, but I have Colts 30, Bengals 16. I will say that is not a touchdown and multiple field goals. I think we go for 2 at some point and not get it. So There you go.
There you go. All right. Well, we have similar views on this game.
1 missed conversion and a field goal.
This is a very tough stretch for any team. When you look at the defenses we have, Cleveland's playing very well. Then we get Tennessee. Then we get Pittsburgh. I mean, it's exactly what we didn't want. We started it with Baltimore. So it's the string of defenses. The other team that I'll bring this up. It's a total sidetrack, but the other team that's in serious trouble, just looking at the schedule wise, is San Francisco. I didn't realize until last week, or 2 weeks ago, when I lost I didn't bet them on Miami, but when I bet them against Arizona, that their only 2 wins were, I knew they had 2 wins, but I didn't really look at the wins. They were against the Jets and the Giants. So they lost to Arizona at home. They're winless at home, by the way. They won 2 on the road in New York, and then they lost to, Miami. And so it's just been, and Philadelphia was the other one that beat them. But they have coming up. So they've got their 2-3 record, but they've got the Rams, New England, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans. Okay. You're going to lose all 5 of those.
Oh, they could beat New England.
No, I doubt it's at New England.
Yeah, but you can run.
And then the other one, but like I said, they're 4-1 in that stretch. That's not good.
That's fine.
But that's another one. Schedules come in clusters. This is why it was so important that the Niners win those earlier games, because they knew they had this block of 5. We knew we had this block of 4.
But you and I both know anything can happen with the injuries. Oh, yeah. And COVID and moving games around and stuff like that.
We'll see.
We're recording this and we didn't even get a Thursday night game tonight, which is a bummer.
And look at how bad everybody was going to crown Buffalo, this contender in the AFC, and they went out there and it was just that defense was horrific on Tuesday. That was one of the worst outings I've ever seen. It reminded me of when we would play really well and we would finally get that primetime game to get to show off who we are, and we would not, and we would fail. And Andy Dalton would lose in primetime. That's exactly what happened to Buffalo Tuesday. They
Well,
finally got the primetime game. There they were. Everybody's talking about them. They're unbeaten, and they didn't even look like they belonged on the field with Tennessee.
well, speaking of which, all you Bengals fans, whether you're haters or lovers, Andy Dalton is under the lights on Monday night.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I've
tune
heard,
in
you know
and
what?
let's see.
We'll see how he does. We'll see how he does. It won't be our hearts on the line. So
I
do love Andy as a person. So
I do too. I still think our game against the Colts will be more fun to watch than it was against Baltimore.
Oh, I do too.
You know, I'm not picking them to win. I'm picking the Colts to pull away late, but I think it could be a fun game. And you've got two really good secondaries and two not so great lines. The Colts isn't bad. Ours, we're just injured. But everybody that's trying to get super down on the Bengals, man, look at these injuries and look at this schedule. Look at this schedule coming up. Don't lose your minds. This is all a process.
Right.
Let's see what happens. Give it these 4 games. You can complain for a while. Let's see what happens in the 4 games after that against the teams that we're supposed to beat.
Exactly. When the watch right after the bye after Pittsburgh. So, all right, Sam, tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us on Twitter at Talk Primetime.
All right. And I want to remind everybody, I'm in a golf tournament this weekend. If I win Saturday, it's the President's Cup. It's kind of like
you're not winning.
Now, you never know. It's like the NCAA tournament. We have these brackets, but if I win Saturday, I play Sunday. So if I play Sunday, I got to record the game, and we'll do a show that evening. We will get a show up on Sunday, but it will be later in the day. It won't be right after the game because I won't even have seen the game. I'll still be out in my golf man. So, but if we're up on time, you'll know that I lost. So
well, good luck, brother. Good luck.
Thank you. It's the President's Cup. I love this is one of my favorite tournaments. So, but with that, I will say, hoo day, everybody. Have a good rest of your Thursday evening, and we will see you after the game on Sunday. Take care.
Hoo day.